the mic, or you can use stereo mix.
Right. Okay.
So they can hear you now, I think.
Same message.
Wow. What? Bad.
Okay, well, I got a green thumb up. We're good.
All right.
So,
All right. So you guys can hear us all now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
I apologize. Wow, that hit me like a ton of bricks. What's this crazy guy doing? Something's talking to somebody on the camera. The voices, they speak to me, I swear.
Okay, I have found where the government's official line is for why they purchased the bullets.
okay, why did they purchase the bullets?
On Friday, the government stated the hollow point bullets had procured are a standard issue, that they are used to train security agents used by each of the various federal agencies. To be used supposedly for practice and training. I call bullshit.
That is the best flu.
But I would say that this kind of fear creates jobs. When you look at the prepper industry and you start looking at stuff like food insurance and the big Berkey water filters, they are helping to prepare our militias so that they have all the equipment they need for when the end does come.
So we should be promoting prepperism.
Well, I mean, it creates jobs.
It can only create so much jobs because how prepped can you be?
Well, I listen to these shows. Apparently, I can be very prepped.
It doesn't create any jobs. It just makes these people who are capitalizing on people's fear richer.
No, I would agree with that.
And if I may, it also disturbs the market, on an extreme level. The concept of economic collapse might create a little bit of jobs, but it's also sending away millions.
Right. I guess my point is, though, that there are people that are capitalizing on this type of fear-mongering. You look at the people selling gold. They're capitalizing on this kind of fear marketing. The people selling the seed banks are capitalizing on this kind of fear-mongering. All the dry food products that we have are capitalizing on this type of fear-mongering.
Okay, but
Well,
is that good to be putting out in the country that much fear? I mean, from a psychological standpoint,
No,
you know.
it's not. I mean, that's part of the problem here is that instead of people dealing rationally with these kinds of problems, we end up with this overzealous, type of overreaction to, and there isn't an overreaction here, but the people can incite fear in other people. It provides a type of control.
What type of
Control over people. If our government can keep us afraid of it, it has a certain amount of control over us. So these kinds of things, I think, add to that conspiracy mindset that creates the fear that provides control.
Well, there are different kinds of fear. I mean, the conspiracy theorists are still in the minority no matter how many people know. I'm pretty sure the majority are, again, pretty sure that most conspiracy theorists are people within the minority. So it's a very small audience to go through so much trouble for. And the majority want them to feel safe.
There's more people than you realize that are quote unquote conspiracy theorists. Understand, I was in the thick of it for about 6 months, a couple of years back. I was what I call an Alex Jones crony head for 6 months.
You listened to Alex Jones for 6 months?
I had my head at my ass 6 months. But it was a very interesting experience, and I know how that side of the fence thinks, and how they spin things, and how they work. And it is a huge market. It is, I mean, at least your head spins and sit down and think about how huge this market of fear and playing on distrust of your government. That's what they're playing on at the end of the day. It's people's natural distrust of authority and government.
That's my observation as well.
Well, yeah, I believe that they're. Sorry, guys.
Okay, and I know someone said something about the Berkeley markup on me. I'm sorry, a lot of this shit makes me laugh because if the worst case scenario does occur, and I use a big if on that, how are you going to run all these things when there's no electricity, or electricity is so expensive you can't afford paying the bill? How are you going to use these things when you're hiding in a bunker or a cave somewhere and you don't have access to modern conveniences like plumbing and electricity and all this? A huge majority of the things you purchase run on electricity.
Yeah. Well, there's generators for that.
It doesn't have converter capability.
It seems like a lot of the prepping is gearing up for those 2 weeks of mayhem, and then after that, everything will be back to normal.
Again, that's it. You have to think like one of these nuts, and they firmly believe, they fully believe that when the shoe drops and all shit hits the fan, you're either against the government and for the people, so you're a patriot, or you're a sheep and you're buying the party line the government sells you. And that when the shit hits the fan, you're going to be rounded up if you can, and you're going to be labeled either as a dissenter, and if you're a dissenter, you're killed, or you're going to be used as labor fodder until like basically work like a meat that you drop. So basically, think Nazi Germany here. This is what I think people believe. And so I see them taking this hollow bullet thing and just running with it about how it's for getting everybody killed American citizens to exist.
Well, to be on the fair side, 1.4 billion point rounds for domestic agencies. Like, what would you think they were going to do with that? Anything.
Well, yeah, they could anything with it. But my point is that I know what the extreme side has been playing before. What it's really for, we don't know. We can assume, from here till whenever, and probably so far off the mark.
Right. Well, you're going on about the preppers, and basically they're going to see everything as a conspiracy because of these hollow point rounds. So, I guess my main question here would be, is this purchase cause for alarm at all? And that goes for everyone. That includes you, Mike. Come join the conversation.
I can't understand how we could just look at the benefit, the cost benefit of it, and not look at the psychological harm that we're doing to the country. Not just that, we're directing people to do something that we could be directing all of that energy into something positive, like curing cancer, and instead they're building bunkers.
Fair enough. Brian?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what it means. I'm not sure what to attribute to this. I can see some ways that people might look at it, but it's hard to know if they have a rational justification here. I can't think of one, but that doesn't mean that there isn't.
And sorry for cutting you off before. And that's good.
I don't think the cost war the concern it warrants and things that make you go, but as far as this is something I'm overly worried about, not yet anyway.
Right. I see a new caller here. Den?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, sir. I don't mean to put the spotlight on you like this, but did you try to catch my latest question, or?
No, I don't. I don't think I did.
It was at the purchase of 1.4 billion hollow rounds for the DHS TSA was anything that would cause for concern.
I can see how people could be concerned, but I mean, I think it's just a little bit of a overreaction, just a little bit. I mean, I do think it's a little bit justified in being worried. I mean, that's the government's going to do what it's going to do.
All right. And so let's move on from that depressing topic to one that surprisingly I am in favor of. Here is a bill that I mentioned before, the H.R. 819 Government Shutdown Fairness Act. Basically what the bill entails is it prohibits members of Congress and the President from receiving a for any period in which, one, there is more than a 4-hour lapse in appropriations for any federal agency or department as a result of failure to enact a regular appropriations bill or continuing resolution. Or two, the federal government is unable to make payments or meet obligations because the public debt limit has been reached. I don't know about anyone else here, but I'm happy about that.
I am not happy about it, and I will tell you why. Reason number one I'm not happy about it is if the government workers that we want working for us are not on our payroll, then who are they working for? Because they're going to get their money somewhere, right? And
Yeah.
I hate lobbyism. I hate that the politicians can be bought. And if we're not buying them, if we're not paying them in order to live at all, then they're going to get money from some other place. That's my reason number one. Reason number two is both you and I, Dax, we both went through this thing called the Occupy movement, and it basically was a whole bunch of poor people, the 99%, taking siege of certain places. And what happened was the poor people didn't have enough money or funds or anything in order to keep up their siege, whereas the rich people didn't even notice that there was anything wrong because the siege couldn't do anything to them. And so now you're going to take these rich people who are politicians, who can fall back on being a lawyer if they need to, but they probably have large coffers of money to begin with. Where if we tried to starve them out by saying, if you don't make sure that the government keeps running and our soldiers aren't being paid, then you're not going to be paid, they can fall back on their savings for probably years. They're not going to get starved out. It's not a big enough threat to them. I say we should add to the bill, and also all of your bank accounts will be frozen. If our government, grinds to a halt, then your personal finances get frozen and you grind to a halt until you fucking fix it.
Can we just walk them into the chamber until they figure it out? No bathroom breaks, no water breaks. Can we just do that? Make it simple.
We should be typing in more oxytocin in there. Maybe they'll get along better.
Oh god, Well, actually, I've actually looked into that. On a personal note, I am an aspiring psychologist. I've looked into injecting oxytocin, and that's far, far from being anything that could end well.
Listen, man,
But-
I had a dream. You just-
It's actually an injected hormone. It's not something that can be put in a spray yet.
I
Okay.
thought they could.
Well, not into that kind of spray.
Oh,
But you get it through the nose. At least in the United States.
Okay. All right.
And another thing about the Occupy movement, don't take them seriously. Just don't. They think socialists and anarchists are the same thing.
Okay. But I'm saying that their tactics didn't work, and now we want to adopt their tactics. If we shouldn't take them seriously, why should we take it seriously if we're going to apply that to a certain smaller group of people? When we were trying to starve out the rich people and make them listen, and there was no way we can make them listen because we just don't have the resources to make them listen, why do we think it's going to be a winning game plan when we apply that to Congress? Those are rich motherfuckers too.
I'm sorry, is this still in committee or is it out of committee?
It's to be voted on. I think it's out of committee. It was sent in on February 18th, 2011, and it's to be voted on.
And this is a House.
It's clear. HR 819.
And is Boehner in support of this?
There isn't too much information in the act aside from the co-sponsors who are in support of it.
I guess my question would be: are those co-sponsors are they Republicans or Democrats?
I'm not seeing too much of any of that kind of information on here. To be honest, Open Congress just doesn't have what I need. I'll get you right.
Okay.
I apologize.
I mean, that would be one question. And the other question I would have is, what committee did this come out of?
I should have looked at that. Oh, the sponsor was, his co-sponsors. Representatives, they're mostly Democratic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, most of the co-sponsors are Democrats. So, that answers the first question.
Is there any bipartisanship here?
I'm not seeing too many R's. It's mostly Democrats.
So I would have to suspect, based on that, trying to get that through the House is highly unlikely.
Also, I would have to suspect that this is a preemptive strike against the entire shutting down the government unless you sign our budget into law type deal, where the Democrats can fall back and say, you know, we're calling your bluff now, and here it is that you voted against being punished for bringing us to this point. You know, it's because while I was in the military, I would hear this like for 6 years I was in the military, and every year they were like, "Oh, Congress hasn't passed the budget yet," you know. And it's always something that they're using that threat against. You know.
But it's actually the Senate that's not passing the budget.
And then when the budget gets passed, it's a matter of the president signing it. And that's how we got the NDAA with detention of our own citizens, basically against habeas corpus. You know, that's how we got that stuck in there, is because of that last-minute threat scenario.
Right.
Yeah, I think more interesting would be, to Mike's point, might be how to use this in the future. I suspect it's not going to pass. Because the other thing is that we're asking people to be willing to punish themselves and are effective. And we talk about voting against your best interests.
Yeah.
Right. And well, if I may go on here right now, these people are the representatives of this country, correct? The congressmen, senators, et cetera, right?
They are representatives, yes.
So when are the American people going to take accountability for the representatives? After all, we're supposed not like it when they go against the Constitution and, you know, do things that are just ungodly ungodly amounts of human action, correct?
Yeah.
So, when are we actually going to start, you know, holding these representatives accountable? As Mike says, he don't like the lobbyists and our politicians taking money from them. Why? Why shouldn't they take money from the lobbyists? Who's going to do anything?
And this goes back to, I think, the earlier point that I was making about our ineffectiveness to group together and to create enough people that would have some sort of actual sway in those positions. Because we can't organize, we can't hold them accountable.
Oh, we can hold them accountable. It's just that we have to get past this partisan mentality of it's their fault. No, it's their fault. How about it's both their fault? How about... I'm sorry?
I agree with that.
But no, that's what's keeping those politicians from being held accountable. It's not them. It's not their law. It's the people. It's we the people. So if I was a politician, I wouldn't have a problem taking money. It's like, well, what are they going to do? Vote me out? Oh, okay. I'll just go take my lobbyist money and be on my merry way.
Yeah. When's the last time you wrote your House representative?
About 2 days ago, it was actually when I was Senator Udo.
Okay.
I don't write them myself. I go up and speak to them.
Well, and that's great when they're here. Last time I did it was in support of one of the. It was when they the assets were upset about the birth control stuff. I wrote my congressman in support of those pieces of the bill.
I feel bad because I don't even know what the hell my representatives are.
But I think that you are actually probably in the majority here, and if people don't know who their representatives are, and they're not contacting them, how do we hold them accountable?
Yeah.
Oh, holy shit, I actually met one of the motherfuckers too. It was for an art thing, and I shook his hand and didn't know much about the fucker. But, well, yeah, maybe I should get more. Especially since I'm in a very, like, Republican state, so.
Well, the whole reason I bring this up is because, I mean, you guys got on the news forums and what. I was in Congress to the moon. We got job openings for Congress. You get all these people talking all this big talk, and when you ask them about it, they got nothing. It's just, oh, well, I think they should do this, that, and the other. Okay, what are you doing to make them do that? Quit being a naysayer and help us find a solution. Here's a solution. How about you actually, I don't know, getting to lynch him or something? And I know, hold on, I know I'm going to get a whole bunch of crap.
Yeah, that was going to get in trouble.
Yeah, I know I'm going to get a whole bunch of crap. What else are you going to do? What else can you do besides that? I mean, say you're going to vote him out. Oh, yeah, that's real threatening. Bring a lawsuit against them? Yeah, bring a lawsuit against the government itself. That's an unbiased and fair way to look at it. I mean, what else can you do?
Can we, isn't there like a law in the books where congressmen and shit can get money from companies?
Yeah, I mean, they do it all the time.
So maybe we should repeal that. Or somehow force that to be repealed. That way it can't be beholden. Or it's legally be beholden to them.
The point of this being is legislation isn't gonna work. I mean, they'll always have backroom deals. Whether be brought in a suitcase of money for the lobby's purpose, or, well, misfunded, what have you. They're gonna get the money from the lobbyists or the corporations or whoever. So what's to stop them, other than the threat of being voted out with a nice little pension?
Trying to castrate them? I don't know.
I like that idea. We'll go with that. Vote with the Constitution and castrate.
You know, if we could get the majority of citizens to agree on something and act on it, we could make some of these things happen. But that's the difficulty.
And that's exactly my point.
I think a very big difficulty with it is as soon as a grassroots effort starts up with a good idea, an AstroTurf effort that looks grassroots will be started up by a corporation to protect its own interests. And they will completely squash the other movement. You really need funds in order to keep a good idea, growing, because disinformation is so fucking huge in this country.
We need people with shit. I had a word and I just integrity. There we go. We need people with integrity in office.
I do feel like we elect these people who have a lot of integrity, then they get into the machine, and it's gone.
Yeah.
And yet, why
Wasn't in integrity to begin with.
Yeah, well, I don't know. And to actually your point, yeah, why shouldn't exactly why shouldn't it? Because there is very little repercussion. How does it create the repercussion?
Yeah,
and everyone, I've created.
Yeah.
I have a lot of ideas, but I know a lot of people are going against them. So,
They got off constructive.
yeah, exactly.
well, you can't let children decide how long they're going to be punished and how they're going to be punished and how long they're not going to get their allowance. When they're the ones who messed up, you don't let them tell you, oh, well, you can take away my allowance for 2 weeks.
Don't let the daddy get something. Pretty much how it works.
There are some parenting books that suggest that at some point you ask a kid, what do you think a fair consequence for this is? Well, I haven't tried it. I don't know how well it works. I suspect it doesn't.
It never.
It never does.
I should know. It never did.
But the main point I was trying to get across is, I'm going to go with a quote from Thomas Jefferson. When people fear their government, there's tyranny. But when the government fears the people, there's liberty. There is no greater fear than violence. And if you try to castrate them for going the right way, I don't think they're gonna vote the right. I don't think they're gonna vote the right way.
How do we make them fight for who's right? Because I'm pretty sure all the lobbyists, like people who are backed by lobbyists, are not willing to die for money. But a lot of people who give a shit about the issues will fight.
Yeah.
Well, you take the issue of universal health care, right? We Americans are the only civilized country without it, right? We have the largest GDP of all these civilized countries, and we still don't have it, and Canada has it, and we don't, and that sucks. But as soon as people started bringing it up as a huge, great idea, Americans for Prosperity started making these little Tea Party groups start chanting that it was socialism. And they would use any sort of fascism, socialism word, which would demonize the movement. But basically, if the people democratically vote for this, it's not so much socialism. We have a lot of publicly shared benefits that we all have. We all have police and firemen, and we all have libraries. But, that movement that called for the universal health care had no backing financially. But the Tea Party did, and the Tea Party had billions backing it. And we can trace the money and see that a lot of the money that backed it went back to corporations that had a vested interest in backing it. And now we're fighting over whether we should have Romney Care or Obamacare, which is a very small step in that direction, and it's nowhere near as good as the good idea that was originally had. But it's a carrot. We're being thrown a bone here, at least.
one of the major problems I have with the universal healthcare law is it fines you. I don't care what they say, it's not a tax. Just because one judge decided, oh, it's a tax now. I don't see it as a tax. It's a penalty. You're being penalized for not buying in socialized healthcare.
You know, it's an interesting point of whether it's a penalty or a tax. Ultimately, it's the same drop in the wallet. I mean, when we look at Mitt Romney, he claims not to have raised taxes in Massachusetts, but the fact of the matter is that he puts a fee on everything. So whether it's a fee or it's a tax, I'm not sure that matters. It's a semantic argument.
They're reaching into my wallet against my will.
There you go. Totally agree.
And from what I understand is you don't have to pay it, and the government has no authority to come and take it from you. Therefore, it's okay. It's constitutional. The government can't do anything about it. So, what is? You don't have to pay into it, so is even going to be a sustainable program by any people? Nothing sustainable. It's really just hit the 60 mark. But is it even a real program?
My understanding is that the funds to pay for it are supposedly to come from that penalty, which is almost voluntary to pay. It's a good question as to whether or not it can be solved.
And this is my major problem with government healthcare. Well, socialized healthcare, voluntary. If I refuse to pay for this, are they going to come to my house and take my just take it, see my bank account? And if I fuck them, will they use force against me to put me in the hospital? And say, see, you needed that insurance. Aren't you glad you had it?
No, they're not going to do that. And really, if we had a better tax code that wasn't being lobbied, the tax code we have right now is so heavily lobbied by corporations, in order to keep it with loopholes that keeps them from paying money into our government. If we were actually, cutting off all those loopholes, our government might have the money to afford something like at least clinics in every major city for free. They could start with that. Maybe they wouldn't, handle like ERs right away, but just for the public good, they could hand out aspirin and cold medicine, and check people for laryngitis, I guess. They could just start with some small level clinics, and we would actually see a benefit from that, to where the rest of us wouldn't be paying for the lost amount of time of sick workers going even sicker, and sick workers having to go without treatment and then getting all the rest of the workers sick. We could see a public good from this that would be a benefit, and I can't see why we spend so much money on libraries that no one uses, but everyone thinks that that's okay, and I think it's okay, but then we don't think it's okay to pay for just clinics that might be able to say, oh, well, yes, you have strep throat, here's some antibiotics, don't get anyone else sick. Try to stay home for a few days,
What about a clinic that provided the majority of services for women and other people who needed STD testing discreetly? What about a service like that?
I'm saying every service that a hospital offers, we could probably say would be a benefit to society. But if we started out small, people would be able to warm up to the idea in this country.
Well, but my point is that that's what Planned Parenthood already kind of is for a certain segment of the population. We have that clinic, and they're trying to take it away from us.
True, but I'm not sure about the the payment that you have to make to Planned Parenthood as a clinic. I've never used Planned Parenthood myself. I don't know. I've only studied the protesters that are out on the outside of Planned Parenthood.
Well, I actually,
Yeah, for a lot of free services or reduced cost of
I actually, I'm a social work major now, and I interviewed someone from Planned Parenthood, and they said I think the services are on like a sliding scale. Like if you have less money, you pay less.
Yeah, it's subsidized and they charge based on income.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have problems in this country where, forget clinics, we can't even try to lobby for, hey, let's have our government pay for 100 million free condoms. We can get them to buy 140 million bullets, but we can't get them to buy 100 free condoms, you know, because that would be against God's law to somebody, and there would be this huge voting lobby that would vote it down in Congress. But if we were to pass out free condoms at every dance club, we could probably cure a lot of diseases before they happened. You know, preventative measures go a long way, and it's a lot cheaper.
Yes, but is it worth pushing onto other people?
Those other people are going to get pushed onto anyway because of the loss of that person to that disease, because in the end they're going to go into a hospital and they're going to be a drag on public funds that way. They're going to, you know, when the disease progresses.
Why? This is something I noticed, and it's really weird. If you look at the pro-life people, they're against abortions, but they also don't like contraception. How do you hold those two things to not think you're insane? Because if you're for contraception, there'd be less abortion because there's be less chances for birth.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems madness to me.
Well, they believe that all life is sacred and it's supposed to be supposed to be. And that includes stopping eating contract to stop life from being created, I think. I don't know.
contraception can also be a form of abortion in a way because it is stopping a pregnancy from occurring. If you want to understand, I guess the best way for you to get it is if you go and watch Monty Python's Every Sperm is Sacred.
Yeah.
That's pretty close to the Roman Catholic opinion about why they can't do contraception.
And the statist views that we have from Republicans and Democrats have us locked in an abortion argument like that, when there are other things that we could do to reduce the number of abortions in America, such as deregulating the sale of babies. We could actually have a government agency that would take from rich families, say $150,000, and give 50 to the mother, put 50 in a college fund, and give 50 to the government, and give rich families the babies of parents that otherwise would have aborted, right? Just a system like that, there is a demand for babies in America. It's not, you know, it's not something that some people like to think about in terms of that, but you could, just by deregulating the sale of babies, you know, or streamlining it so that it wasn't such a hard thing to adopt, you could prevent a lot of abortion, because a lot of women are probably getting this abortion because they're poor. You can see that correlation, and they're thinking, well, I can't provide for this baby. It's not worth bringing this baby into the world, you know? But if you actually had a method where, you know, they would be compensated, the baby would be set up with a college fund, you know, there is a demand. There are tons of rich families without a baby that want a baby and can't get one in the system right now because the system needs to be deregulated. But neither the Republicans or Democrats will do that because they will say, oh, that looks like human trafficking. You know? And that kind of takes people's attention away from the narrative that we've set up every 4 years for people to argue about so that they come out to the polls and vote for our parties. That's my take.
I just think that the government, right wing, believes God would smite them if they did that guy in the Bible who didn't come in the girl.
He spilled his seed
onto the ground, yeah, and God was not happy with him, so I think that's what they're going. I don't know.
Maybe they're just a little bit too far right to understand. Sanity.
Yeah.
All right.
There is a large segment of the population that of the abortions that are women who've already had one kid that are having these abortions, and in those cases, more access to condoms and better sex education probably would have prevented that abortion.
Absolutely.
Sex education.
Yeah, I know, it's silly, right? But
Yeah, but sex
Woman,
God
man.
too.
Sorry, go ahead.
I said sex education is against God too. It stops the pregnancy.
You inject penis into vagina. Ejaculate. Probable chance of conception. I think I just did the world a service.
It's more than just birds and bees. It's really teaching people that the prosperity gospel that they've been led to believe that they should bring kids into the world, you know, and that the other people should bring kids in the world, and if they can somehow coerce other people to bring a kid into the world that they wouldn't have had otherwise, then that's a good thing, you know. And it's not enough that the Dugars can have a reality TV show where they have 17 kids. They want to take that platform and then teach that we should have abstinence-only education and then anti-abortion measures, you know, to where it basically it teaches kids to be dumb and have a lot of kids. And then when they find out that they're stuck in that situation where that's probably, you know, time to get married and settle down and they don't want to do it, you know, there's no option for them because the abortion option will be gone. You know, they're trying to trap people in this cycle of, oh, hey, you need help raising your kids? Why don't you bring them to our church? We'll help you raise them every Sunday morning, you know?
Prohibition does not work. It has not worked. It never will work.
It boils down to, we need bodies in the pews. Start pumping out more babies. It boils down well.
yeah, so I just posted the article in the Skype chat. It says 61% of abortions are women who already had one kid prior. One or more kids prior. See, that's huge.
Yeah. I'm not aware of that. 45% were white women, 67% were black, 53% were Hispanics. I don't know why I read that out loud, but
I think that's good. I think that it's good to know those statistics.
Actually, I have a video on my channel where the 3 out of 5 abortions are black children billboard was put up in a neighborhood where the message that billboard would put out was completely racist because it was a very racist white neighborhood. And basically what they were saying by that billboard was, don't have an abortion, that's what black people do.
Wow. Yeah, and I actually, I made a video in response to Michael's video about the abortion no truck that went by.
Yeah.
And and people have the nerve on their side of the argument to say oh, we're the immoral ones. We're the ones that don't have any fucking to stand on this argument. What the fuck? That's all I can think of is
then they could drive a truck with a bloody fetus painted on the side through town and say that we're the immoral ones.
Yeah, it's we don't have the decency. Fuck you. That's what I have to say.
Not to mention, that was a pretty well-attacked aborted fetus.
Yeah.
I've seen the abortion process. No. What is U.S. supporting?
Well, at that rate, or at that rate of growth, when a fetus is just that small, it could be a fetus from anything, and we wouldn't be able to know that it was, whether it was human or not. When it's the size of a quarter, that could have come out of any number of animals and still would look human.
A jackal? I'm sorry, I had to do it. Alright, but I think the major overall thing here is it's the woman's body, it's her choice. But I can understand that you want to, protect the unborn child's rights to life, which is where it gets a little muddled, I think, for most people. Am I wrong in saying that?
Well, I mean, yeah, that it's a difficult line to draw. But we do have to arbitrarily draw it somewhere. For me, I draw that at the point where the fetus can survive on its own. Until it's a parasite.
Technically it is. My point is when it starts to have brain function. Till then it's a parasite. I don't care if the mother wants to cut her own hand up. Or she wants to cut a parasite.
Yeah.
Once it has brain function, then it's considered a human being with rights.
Till it can pick for its own damn college.
Well, shit, dude, you might as well kill every child below the age of 16. late term abortions right there.
Yeah.
But we do have a female, and I'd like to know what your opinion is, Magenta.
We had a female, and then you talked to her.
Then she ran away.
Yeah, she ran away. I mean, one of the bigger things, is you're a man, you don't understand, so maybe I don't.
Well, what I can understand is, rather than putting all this energy into personhood amendments that fail, especially in our state of Colorado, year after year after year, they keep failing, but they keep trying, and they pump all this money into it. By now, they probably could have designed an artificial fetus. An artificial womb to, take a fetus that someone was aborting and stick it in there and grow it there,
They did do that, dude.
Well, they haven't perfected stuff like that, but they could have a perfect artificial womb.
Yeah.
With bajillions of money that they spend on the personhood amendment. They could just create another option for women. Put some, or at least have put some research into it. We might not have it by now, but they would have had something to show for it. Of course, that would probably be against their God's will, too, because any sort of artificial insemination would be playing God, and any sort of artificial raising of a fetus would be playing God.
Well, actually, that might hold some merit. Not playing God, mind you, but to basically grow a baby in a test tube. There are certain chemicals and bonding hormones that a mother and child, or mother gives to the child, like the stretching of the vagina sends chemicals up to the mother's brain that gives her emotional attachment to the child once it's born. Would it have that? Would it have any of the chemicals that a mother should give it in order for healthy brain function and brain development? These are the things that I think we need to put over.
Would that be an argument against C-sections?
Yes, it is. I have used that as an argument against C-sections. Now, hold on. If it's to save the mother's life, okay. I mean, I understand that C-sections are very necessary at times. I'm saying don't do it if you don't have to, because there is a lot of things that come to the stretching of the vaginal walls. That's something I don't think a lot of mothers are told about at all. Like oxytocin, you were mentioning before, oxytocin, a lot of chemicals just like that shoot up to the brain and give that nurturing desire, that desire to hold, the desire to care for the child. I'm not going to go too much into it because I don't know if my sister might ever see this, but my sister got 2 C-sections and she doesn't like her children. Doesn't like them. I know that's kind of a straw man argument, but I don't know, it just makes me think.
It's an interesting argument. And I know that when my wife was pregnant that we looked at some of that. I just am not sure how thoroughly that those studies have been done. And to say that just because somebody has a C-section that they're going to like the children less is an interesting claim. But I don't think it's been proven.
Well, don't get me wrong. There are, variables to the person's personality or to the mother's personality. All that great stuff.
Well, Dex, I think you're onto something here, because we all know that your mom loves you a little bit too much. She's very protective of you. And maybe she wouldn't be that way if you didn't have such a big head when you were born.
This could be true. Mother don't talk that much anymore. At any rate, one of the things I was saying was, you are all aware of the wire monkey experiment, right? The contact comfort?
Yeah, the wire cage with the carpet on it versus the wire cage with no carpet.
Yeah. Yes.
I actually am not familiar.
I don't actually. Yeah.
Okay, but everybody doesn't understand it. It's really long, so there's really no point of no big. All in all, humans like comfort. Humans will take touch comfort over food and water, unless they can just be away from the touch comfort for a short amount of time. And for infants, there were studies done, experiments done, where they would take infant babies, I forget what country it was, but they wouldn't allow the mother to touch them from birth. After the mother had them born, they sent them down into a room, didn't touch them. They fed them, they changed them, gave them hygiene, but they never touched them. If they didn't turn out retarded, they died. And they were all perfectly healthy babies at birth.
Not good. Let's not do anything like that anymore. We'll just take the notes that the Germans gave us before World War II, and we'll just assume that they were accurate. I mean, German technology helped us get astronauts into space, and we didn't have to do those experiments, but I don't think that we really want to pull any experiments that Goebbels would anymore. That shit creeps me out.
But yeah, I'm done with my psychological rant. Psychiatric. Yeah, psychological.
So, we have once again managed to get way off topic. but it's always a good show when people show up to talk to us.
Yes, yes it is. All right. So yeah, the bill, from what I understood before, is pretty much not life because we have, or it's not going to be effective, right?
That's what I think. And even we're saying, we're always saying people shouldn't vote against their own best interests, right? I mean, we see it a lot. I mean, wouldn't Congress be voting against its own best interest to pass this bill?
Yeah, that's why we have a problem with them voting their own pay raises all the time.
Yeah.
Because they are voting for their interests, and this would be like the one time that they wouldn't. You know, are we going to trust the Congress that votes themselves pay raises to vote themselves a pay freeze?
Yeah. I mean, it's just a bad idea all around. I mean, I like the bill in its entire. I like the bill, the concept of the bill. It's not going to pass, and even if it is passed, it's not going to be enforced because the concept is to make Congress do their work. But as everyone's already stated, they're just going to go suck on daddy lobbyists' tit and get paid that way.
Yeah, I agree. I do like the spirit of the bill.
Well, I think we all like the spirit of it.
All right, to close out the show, we want everyone to stick their YouTube channel in the chat in BlogTV.
I'm not on BlogTV.
I know. Well, I'll stick your channel anyway.
I appreciate that. Next time I'll be more prepared.
Just out of curiosity, who's here still?
Jay, Rez, Noob, and Magenta are still in the call.
Okay, so it's gone back and forth.
And okay, I'd actually begin to think that 3 people just.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm here, Brian. I'm sorry.
All right, so we'll say, okay, 5 of the 6 people are here.
Yeah.
6 of the 7 people are here. I'm not sure to count myself.
All right. Well, I think we can call that a wrap, and everybody come back next week, where we will talk about something else obscure.
All right, going to something else completely.
Yeah.